Hey, welcome back to the farm. You're gonna have to excuse the noise. I got the heater running. Again, it's chilly here. So I don't know if you saw the last short that I posted, but I'm working on my Kawasaki Prairie 360. Tore up the clutch, did a couple other things. Anyway, got that sorted out, and I forgot that I have an error light or a trouble light, and it's the four-wheel drive light that's flashing. So you look in the manual and it says, hey, you need to replace the actuator on the engine brake control. So that's this guy. All right, there's your part number. I think Kawasaki actually has an updated one. Anyway, this thing's like 500 bucks from Kawasaki. So just replacing it to put the light out. We're gonna try something else first. So let me get this thing pulled apart and I'll bring you back and we'll explain what it is that actually goes wrong. All right, so here's a shot of it with the cover off of it. There's a couple gears. The little one right over here, this is just a motor. That's what's underneath this cover. And what we're after is where these wires go down here. So there's a couple more screws in there. I'm gonna get these gears out of the way and I'll show you what that is. It's actually a rheostat, but more on that here in a moment. All right, so here we are. Got it removed and there's a part number on the back of this guy. There's a shot of it there. Anyway, you got three wires. You got an orange on the right, yellow in the middle, blue on the left. And those correspond to the colors on the plug. All right, so what you do out of your manual, there's some resistance troubleshooting that you do with a multimeter. I'm just using the El Cheapo one from Harbor Freight, and it works out well enough for what this is. Anyway, one of those ports or pieces of the plug, pins I guess they are, one of those combinations is out of range according to the book, and that's what the computer looks for, is that resistance, and it's causing it to malfunction. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look up that part number, and I'm going to find myself what this rheostat is, get one of those here, and we're going to get that swapped out. All right, so it has occurred to me here that maybe I ought to go through how I determined that the rheostat there needs replaced with that guy there. I just used that same part number, got on eBay, $25 later, here it is. So I looked in the book. This is the resistance in ohms that we should be seeing. So red to black should be someplace between 3 and 15 ohms. So we are at 5.1. Now, give me a moment, we'll reset, we'll go orange to blue, and we'll see what that is. All right, so orange to blue. Now this is not 5.25. You have to notice I switched my meter over to the 20,000 ohms range because we're looking for someplace between 3.5 and 6.5 K ohms. So we're at 5.25 K ohms. So that way is also in range. Now we're sitting yellow to blue. And I switched back over to the 200 ohms because I was under the minimum. And if you notice, we're at 105, 106. It's kind of bouncing, and that is where our problem is. So obviously we're going to change this rheostat, and I'll bring you back whenever we get that done. All right, I realize I've jumped ahead a little bit here, but in the book, this position where that little nub is sticking out, that's the spot where it needs to go back together. That corresponds to the flat on that rheostat, otherwise known as a potentiometer. I guess I could have said that in the earlier section too. But that's where those two things line up together. I'm going to put the gears back in so that all this lines up. We're going to put the screws back in it. And before we get too far, I'll just plug the thing right back into the unit and make sure that the computer is going to accept what we've done. All right, as you can see, we got it plugged back in, oriented to, well, that's where it went whenever we turned the ignition on. But the light is not flashing. The four-wheel drive is just solid on, which, because the switch over here is in four-wheel drive, which is pretty much where this quad lives, is in four-wheel drive. I think we got it licked at this point. If you're having trouble with your actuator, that might just be a way to save you some aggravation. There is a little bit of timing that you have to do on the I'll say the gear, but this nub and the rheostat potentiometer to get this all to reassemble properly. But it's really not all that terribly difficult. You just follow the positions in the manual. Is really all that I've done here. Just, you know, some basic troubleshooting on top of that. Thanks guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Give us a comment if this is something that has happened to you or you got any experience with. Have a good one.